Success Insight shares the stories of the people with passion and drive who make things happen in the world. Here's your host, Howard Fox.
Hello, everybody. This is Howard Fox from the Success Insight podcast. For my co-host, Randy Ford, I hope you are all having a great day. Our guest today on the podcast is Elliot Silber. Elliot is what is Elliot? He has done many things, so let me give you a little taste of what that is, or perhaps a sample platter of what Elliot's background is. Pretty amazing. He has been a physicist at the Argonne National Laboratory here in the Chicagoland area. He's worked as an organic chemist for a food company, taught alpha brainwave control classes for over 10 years using the Silva method. I definitely want to find out about that. He has taught sales. He's been in the insurance and investment business. He's owned retail, wholesale, repair, manufacturing. He's been a vice president of Victory Pipe Craftsman. He's co-started and became the publisher and president. He co-started and became publisher and president of a series of community newspapers, official publications of the local chambers of commerce on Chicago's North Shore. I met Elliot because he is the master connector with several thousands of contacts, and he began to turn those contacts into connection opportunities for the people who have come into his life through a variety of organizations and venues. And I tell you, he is truly the master connector. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Elliot Silber. Elliot, welcome to the Success Insight podcast.
Thank you, Howard.
I hope I did that introduction. I gave you, I hope that introduction met your seal of approval.
It was much of it. It wasn't all of it, but it was much of it.
Our podcast is relatively short, and I'm sure it would have taken a long time to go through the entire list. Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and I know it's a busy day. I thank you for coming onto the podcast and chatting a little bit about who you are and the work that you're doing. And you've spent some time at Argonne. You've owned a number of businesses, and you're the master connector. So I guess, what are you doing now? How did you get to this place where you and I are chatting right now?
Well, let's see. Besides owning a retail, like a suntan salon for 14 years and being involved in business in many aspects and levels, about 25 years ago, I started a series of newspapers in the North Shore as the official publications of Chambers of Commerce. So we were the official publications of Chambers to start with, not toward the end. We just had relationships. And as a result, we were members of 13 Chambers of Commerce in Chicago's North Shore, Chicago's affluent North Shore. I got to meet an awful lot of people between that and all my other businesses. When I retired from that, someone pointed their fingers at me and said, "What are you going to do now?" And I said, "Look, I've got over 7,000 contacts in my database. I'll create a connections business." So we connect people to funding, financing, manufacturing, marketing, media, advertising, technology, product development. I have a real estate partner. I'm involved in a consulting group that has pretty much everything else beyond me to a much higher level. We can do almost anything here or internationally.
That's fantastic. I'm curious. I first started coaching leadership development back in 2008. Before that, I remember there was a lot of job losses in 2000, the year 2000 debacle, whatever you want to call it. This idea of connecting and networking, is it the same today as when you got started? I mean, meeting people is so important. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, you and I are meeting virtually. I mean, I can see you, you can see me. You have the events, but has networking changed much? Helping people to connect and meet new people, has that changed much since you started down that path?
Not really. It's become more important. If anything, it's ebbed and flowed. Some of the chambers of commerce, for example, were competing with each other for attendance, and then the attendance jumped. The issue is getting young people in, and that started to change recently when corporations began to realize the internet was not a replacement for face-to-face meetings and interactions. So we have younger people being forced to go to networking, and they're pretty frightened. So I teach networking skills, simple, basic networking skills, how to talk to people. And I do that. I have a networking meeting I run once a month in Northbrook, breakfast called Leaders Networking Breakfast. I also wrote a book on the topic while I was recovering from some surgery.
Tell us about that book.
Well, years ago, it goes back to my origins of understanding. It's a combination of things. I'm a serial entrepreneur with a scientific background. And I used to write presentations for the insurance industry 30 years ago, 35 years ago. And it turns out that at that time, the average attention span of an American adult was 9 to 11 minutes. You know what it is today?
Probably a lot less.
Make a wild guess.
I want to say it's probably like 10 seconds.
You're too high.
I'm too high. Oh my gosh.
4 seconds.
Wow.
A goldfish has a 12-second attention span. That tells you there's something else going on. So we need to communicate more efficiently, more effectively, don't we? And what I found is that going back to Socrates, the great teacher, if you remember how Socrates taught his students, how did he teach his students?
How did he teach his students? Well, I would suspect, because he was a pretty bright guy, he probably asked a lot of questions.
That's the only way he taught, isn't it? So
Yes.
When you ask questions, it turns out it engages long-term chemical memory. I sat with a 92-year-old marketing man today who was an expert in developing many corporations, including Encyclopedia Britannica. And he talked with me about the idea of questions and ads, and he was an ad writer. I had to learn that as well. And it turns out the ads that are most memorable in history are things like, got milk?
Where's the beef?
Three generations of consumers remember that, and it hasn't been advertised in what, 30, 35 years?
Right.
So when you ask questions, you learn better, don't you? And you see the way I'm presenting this material, don't you?
Yes, asking ending with the question. It's interesting. I mean, the coach approach is open and it's questions. It's curiosity. It's questions. And I think probably in one of our coaching books is like somebody said Socrates was probably the original coach, asking questions. When you're of the individuals coming into these programs and folks that would take advantage of this book that you wrote, is there a difference in the older professional, somebody it's in the 50s, 60s, you said you were just chatting with somebody who was quite a bit older, versus that young millennial young lady, gentleman? Do they need something different in which you're going to convey to them and the importance of coaching?
The understanding of why it works, instead of just being coached to say, as a salesman, ask questions or listen twice as much as you talk because you have one mouth and two ears. The ideas behind this help to motivate so that we understand better. Isn't that the way it should work? That we can learn better if we add questions and asking questions into our thinking and our writing. So I'll tell you real quickly, when I had the newspapers, we would go to the business owners, and we were extremely successful in advertising because we would sit with a business owner and found out that every successful salesperson, entrepreneur, business owner, sales executive had the same thing about them. If you call them up and said, I heard about you, Joe, you're a painting company, why should I do business with you? I got referred to you. What do you think Joe says? Does he tell him how great he is? The answer is no.
No.
Every successful business that's still in business has started with a series of questions. Right. Oh, Elliot, tell me, is it for exterior or interior? Is it going to be only you, or is there a spouse involved making a decision? Is it going to be, do you like warmer colors or darker colors? There's a series of questions, whether you meet the person at a party, on the street, by phone, by referral. Everybody's prepared with their pattern. And it's always a series of questions.
You know, it's interesting. I've been replying to on LinkedIn. They're called pro finders. It's individuals who are going, in this case, career transition, and they're looking for a coach. And I see this on LinkedIn too. So many people are talking about, here's who I am, here's how great I am, here's my degrees, here's my tools, and that in those proposals to these individuals who are looking for a coach, that's an easy approach to take because they're comfortable doing it. That's what somebody told them you need to do. And I'm thinking, as I'm listening to you, a much more effective approach is ask questions. What are you looking for? What have you done in this area? Who are you researching? What kind of industry? What kind of role are you looking for? As a way to tell this individual, oh, he's asking me for information about what my journey is going to look like or could look like.
A couple of things fairly quickly. If you go to a business owner and ask 2 questions, you'll get 40 minutes, 20 minutes on each. Say, how did you get started in this? And just shut up. The next question is, where do you see yourself or this business in 5 or 10 years? And they will tell you. And immediately you've got a relationship. People, on the other hand, also buy benefits, not features. So if they're looking for a benefit, I have what's called the ultimate selling question of the book. And the book is very concise. It's 20 pages, 13 chapters of information. And the key selling question there is the way I started the book, which is, I'm going to generalize it now. If there were a way you could get exactly what you want for less than you thought, enjoy the process, work with somebody you trust, would you be interested? You ask a question no one can say no to.
Right.
You know, if your house was painted for less money by a quality painter, but with quality paint, get it done in time and then cleaned up afterwards, and you enjoyed meeting the person who did it, would you be interested? The same thing with whether it's stockbrokering or anything. It's that simple question, sell the benefits. What does the person want?
I love it. Now, the book, it's called Laser Language for Sales, Marketing, and Networking. Powerful, focus, crisp, to the point. If our listeners would like to learn more about you and the book, where would they go to get this?
Well, they would go to Elliot, my email address, ELLIOT, at connectionsmaster.com. That's connections, plural, master, singular.com. Just ask for a copy. I can send it by email.
Excellent. Wonderful. Wonderful. Now,
$20, by the way.
How much is it?
Did I say $200? No, $20.
$20. $200 would be good. The experience of writing the book, I mean, are there more, you think there might be some more books in this, or what do you think?
They have a series of laser language books for every topic, for every field. Laser language for accountants, doctors, lawyers, ditch diggers, mothers, so that people, and I'm not going to write these books, but I'm going to publish them for people with the theme and the theory that you want to have them 15 to 25 pages of condensed, consolidated, get rid of the extra prepositions, and be communicative, because that's the 4th part of my book, which is it's not just sales, marketing, and networking, it's communication. Excellent.
Well, definitely, folks, go out and visit Elliot at connectionsmaster.com, and also we can email him. And Elliot, we'll put the links onto the show notes for the podcast. Real quickly before we sign off on the show, what's next for you? I mean, you're a pretty busy guy. Anything special? What's next?
Well, I've got enormous plans. I got invited into a consulting group. If I can only tell you that we met with a leading hotel management company today. We're meeting with the ambassador from Guam on Tuesday. We're talking about anything that anybody needs to. We have artwork that somebody wants to get done. We have people who need consulting, people who need international protection against their assets. We have a tax mitigation program we found that removes 99%, not up to, but 99% of tax liability for an asset gain of 15 million or over. That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, we do a lot of smaller things as well. The senior partner in our group is from South Africa, and an attorney was the largest law firm, is a senior partner of the largest law firm. Not enough time I see to talk about all the other things, because I've done many, many things, and people come to me all the time for connections.
I imagine we have not even touched the tip of the iceberg. Well, Elliot, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to chat with us. I know I had heard about you. I got a copy of the book, and I'm just really excited you were able to spend that time with us. Please stay on the line for just a second while we sign off, and we'll get right back to you, if that's okay for you.
Works for me. Thank you.
Excellent. So, folks, we have just chatted with Elliot Silber. He's the author of Laser Language for Sales, Marketing, and Networking. He also has some future laser language books on the horizon. He is the co-founder of the Connections Master. And if you're interested in getting a copy of his book, please email him at elliot@connectionsmaster.com. That's ELLIOT@connectionsmaster.com. We'll put these links in the show notes. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to the podcast. We'd love to hear your comments. If you have some ideas for future podcasts, please do let us know. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. This is Howard Fox from the Success Insight podcast. Take care now.
Success Insight is a production of Fox Coaching and First Story Strategies. Find us online, successinsightpodcast.com.